Hello students, welcome to yet another video on retail marketing mix. In the previous two videos, I have discussed with you about what a product is, what is the importance of product for a retailer or a marketer or for a business. I have also explained what is a marketing mix, what are the various concepts that are involved in a marketing mix, what are the various concepts that are involved in a product mix. I've also discussed with you about the classification of products into consumer products and industrial products and the various categories of consumer products as well as the various categories of industrial products. Now, after this, we move on to the next topic in the unit called retail marketing mix, which is price mix. Now, what is the meaning of price? Let's understand that and let us then understand what is a price mix. Now, price is the value or it is the money that is paid by a customer to a retailer. And price is the value that will help the customer to purchase a definite quantity or a definite weight of a good or service. So, in other words, it refers to the consideration which is given in exchange for getting the transfer of ownership. Therefore, price is an essential part of all commercial transactions. Unless you pay money, you do not get any goods or service from the provider of such goods or services. Now, why would a customer buy a particular product? A buyer, when he wants a particular product to enjoy that product, he is required to pay some money. Now, this money that he pays will be based upon his ability to pay as well as his willingness to pay. Ability to pay means he should have enough income to afford that goods or service, or he should have the he should also have the willingness to pay for it, which means that he should be desiring to buy that product. If both these factors are there together, only then can will he be willing to part with the money. So price is determined by what a buyer is willing to pay and what a seller is willing to accept, and the competition is allowing that rate to be charged. So therefore, when price is fixed, the seller takes into consideration what the competitor's price is, what is the cost of production for him, and thereafter they fix a rate. So seller also should be willing to accept what the buyer is planning to pay, and the buyer should also be accepting what the seller is charging him. Similarly, the competition should also agree on the rates that is being charged. So all put together determines the fixation of price. So therefore, we can very conveniently state that pricing is the process of determining what a company will receive in exchange for its product. So it is the method adopted by a firm to set its selling price. So every company, before they decide to set the selling price, they plan to have a pricing policy. Now, what's a pricing policy? Pricing policy refers to setting the price of the product or services after taking into account various internal and external factors. And also, apart from it, they also take into consideration what the business's objectives are. So therefore, let us understand what the objectives of the pricing policy would be. Now, the pricing policy of the firm would consider various economic, social, political, and other factors, and thereafter they will form their objectives. For example, one of their objectives could be profit maximization in the short term. Some organizations want to make as much profit as possible in the short run. They may not be interested about the long term growth, but as and when their business has started and is running at that moment, how much business they can make or how much money they can make is what is important for them. There's nothing wrong in this policy if they are interested only in profiteering, because after all businesses are started for the purpose of maximizing profits. It's just a matter of policy or a matter of objective which may be different from firm to firm. So maximization of profits could be their main objective, especially in the short term, whereas some other organizations may look towards profit maximization in the long term. The next objective of pricing policy for a firm could be price stabilization. Some organizations think that if you keep changing the prices quite often, then this will harm the reputation of the product and the organization in the long run. So keeping the interest of the companies in mind, they may aim at stabilization of prices. So they wouldn't want to keep the prices rising and falling, even though the economic situation requires them to keep changing the prices. So even during periods of depression, they keep the prices constant or stable and do not allow the prices to fall. Thus, they take a long term view in achieving price stability. So, this could be an objective of one particular firm or company, but it need not be the same objective for all firms. So, each one their own. So, depending upon each one's objective, they can decide whether they want to have price stabilization or not. The third objective of an organization with respect to its pricing policy could be to face competition effectively. Some firms wish to be price leaders, so therefore they may charge a relatively low price to prevent or avoid competition in the market. So generally the companies are aware that most people are price sensitive and they react to any lowering of prices. So if prices are lowered for a product or service, immediately there is a great demand for that product and service, and the company is able to get a larger market share. So those companies who are interested in becoming price leaders, they charge relatively low price so that they are way ahead of their competitors. The fourth objective could be to maintain the market share. What is a market share? It refers to the share of a firm's sale of a particular product in the total sale of all firms in the market. So the company may be having the objective of either maintaining the present market share or increasing. So in the market there are so many players for a particular product or service, which means that there are so many companies who are rivals to one another for producing and delivering those goods and services. So in that, what is your company's market share? Are you able to sell 25% of the total product, or are you able to sell 40% of the total products in the market? So what is your market share? So companies may want to maintain whatever is their present market share, or they would want to increase it. So that can be one objective. So they adopt a pricing in such a manner that will help them to retain their market share. If they raise their market share, they draw attention of the government, because government may want to know how is it that the company is earning so much, and if they lower their market share, they will lose the revenue. So keeping all this in mind, they have to do a balancing act and have enough revenue, at the same time not be very, I mean, their business should not be highlighted in the eyes of the government, and otherwise they'll have to pay a lot of tax and they will be subject to a lot of scrutiny, and checking can happen. So small businesses generally are found to be interested in raising their market share so as to get the benefits of large scale production. So by now I have discussed with you around four objectives of a pricing policy. The first one is profit maximization in the short term. The second one is about price stabilization. The third one is about facing competitive situations. And the fourth one is about maintaining the market share. Apart from these four objectives of pricing, the other objectives can be capturing the market. It's seen for a number of years that another objective of most companies is to capture the market as well as dominate the market. And they want this domination to continue for quite some time in the long run. So for this, again, the company fixes a lower price for its products, and sometimes they are even prepared to sell at loss in the short term. Now, this may prove to be beneficial in the long run, but in the short run, they will have loss of revenue. So, again, as I told you earlier, such a pricing is generally followed in price sensitive markets. Now, the sixth objective of a pricing policy could be to enter into new markets. Entering into new markets could be for the purpose of expansion or diversification of the company's activities, and in order to earn more profits. So you cannot remain stagnant, you have to find newer markets, you have to find new customers for your products. So the price which will be required to be fixed by the company has to be very attractive so that the buyers in the other markets would want to switch from the rival competitors. So therefore a pricing policy has to be adapted when you are entering into new markets as well. The seventh objective of a pricing policy could be deeper penetration of the market. Deeper penetration of the market means designing the pricing policy in such a manner that the firm can make inroads into the market with minimum difficulties. Deeper penetration is the first step in the direction of capturing and dominating the market in the late stages. The eighth objective of pricing policy is achieving a target return. Every company wants a predetermined target return on its capital investment. That means the amount of money that is invested into producing the goods and the costs involved are all taken into consideration, and the company decides that it wants this much, a certain percentage of return on its investment. So they would want that much sales to happen in order to achieve the return on investment. So targets are set accordingly, and prices of the products are also calculated in such a manner that they earn the target return on the cost of production, sales, and capital investment. Last but not the least, the pricing policy objective would depend upon the customer's ability to purchase. Now, even after you have taken into consideration your company's cost of production, the target return that you want on the capital that is invested, and you have understood what the competitors are pricing, all that you have taken into consideration, still you need to consider one more thing, that is the customer's ability to purchase those goods. Because if you price them very high, the goods, and the customers are not able to purchase, then there is no point in producing it and selling the goods. So a higher price can be charged on those people who can afford to pay. Such a policy is generally followed by those people who supply different types of services to their customers. So the company has got to ensure that the customers can pay and they can have products with different features, so they can cater to different segments of the market. So I hope you have understood the various pricing policy objectives that a firm fixes for itself before deciding on the actual price fixation. So now moving on with the next topic under pricing strategy, let me discuss with you what are the factors that influence retail pricing. Now, some of the factors that are influencing retail pricing can be classified as external factors and internal factors. External factors are factors which are outside the control of the organization, and the company cannot do much to change the forces behind it, but they can adapt themselves to the external factors, whereas internal factors are factors within the control of the organization, and the company would be better able to change its policies and adapt itself to the internal factors. So let's understand the various factors which influences retail pricing. Under external factors, we have the first one, which is demand, supply and their determinants, which means that demand and supply for a product will determine the price of the product. In other words, higher the demand for a product, higher would be the price, and lower the demand for the product, lower would be the price. It's very simple to understand. The more the people demand the product, the more would be the price for it, and lesser the people want it, lesser would be the price for it. Similarly, if the supply of the goods is huge, there is those goods are there in plenty, then the price would be very low, and if the supply of the goods is very less, then the price of it would be more. We know this from cases relating to our households. We have seen that when the prices of when the supply of tomato is in plenty, the prices crash down heavily. And we have also seen in recent years that when the supply of onion was less, the prices shot up like gold. So therefore, demand, supply and their determinants influences the retailing price. The next external factor which influences retail price is elasticity of demand and supply. Elasticity of demand and supply would mean that higher prices are charged for those goods which have inelastic demand and vice versa. Similarly, if the supply is elastic, lower prices are charged, and if the supply is inelastic, higher prices are to be charged. You would have studied the concept of elasticity of demand and supply in economics, and based upon that, we have understood that this is how the prices get impacted. The third factor affecting retail pricing is degree of competition in the market. Now, goods having monopoly power commands a higher price in the market, while goods which are not monopolized, they are charged lower because there is more competition in the market. What is the meaning of monopoly? Monopoly means only one firm is manufacturing the goods or service, and they are controlling the price. So there is no competition for a monopoly firm because they single-handedly are manufacturing. So whatever they charge has to be accepted by the market. So when there is a monopoly power, there can be a higher, generally we see that a higher price is fixed for the product, whereas when there are a lot of people manufacturing the goods or a lot of companies manufacturing the same goods, then because of competition amongst those many firms, lower price is charged for the goods, and consumers can take advantage of a situation that is under a non-monopoly condition. The fourth factor which influences retail pricing is the fourth external factor affecting retail pricing is the size of the market. Lower prices are generally charged if the size of the market is large, because there are many customers who will be buying the product. Therefore, for the companies, it is affordable to price the commodity a little lower. So therefore, lower prices may be charged if the size of the market is large, and higher prices may be charged if the size of the market is small. Also, lower prices are charged if there is competitive market, and a higher price is charged if there is a monopoly kind of market condition. This I have discussed with you in the previous point also. So for this point, you can just mention about lower prices being charged if the size of the market is large, and higher prices being charged if the size of the market is small. Because in case of bigger market, the number of customers is quite huge, so therefore the company can afford to charge a little lower price. Now another factor affecting retail pricing, I repeat, the next external factor affecting retail pricing is the goodwill of the company in the market. Goodwill refers to the name, fame, or reputation of the firm, and this can impact the price that is charged by the company. For example, you have companies, branded companies like Reebok or Nike, Titan, Arrow, and so on, Peter England, Alan Solly, and so on. Now these companies, they charge high price because of the goodwill that they enjoy from the consumers. They are held in good opinion by the customers, and therefore they charge higher than the other companies. So if your company enjoys a goodwill, that means your company enjoys good name, fame, as well as reputation in the market, you can afford to charge a higher price, because customers would want to be associated with a brand like you, and being associated with a brand like your companies, they can enjoy to have greater esteem, status, and prestige in the society. The sixth external factor influencing retail pricing is trends in the market. Now, if the trends in the market can either be positive trends or it can be negative trends. Positive trends are generally the rising trends, that means there's an increased demand, or people appreciate the goods, that if they like your product, there's a rising trend. Otherwise, there's a falling trend. So if there is a positive and rising trend in the market, a higher price can be charged, and if there is a falling trend in the market, a lower price can be charged. Now trends, some commodities are based upon fashion and fads. So people may like a new product, or they may dislike a product. So all these kind of fads, they keep changing from time to time, and based upon that, there may be a rising interest in the product or a falling interest in the product. Accordingly, prices can be fixed for such products. The seventh external factor influencing retail pricing is purchasing power of the buyers. I have discussed about this a little earlier, but under objectives, I have spoken to you about this. But here again, under factors influencing retail pricing, we have this point once again. So a relatively higher price can be charged if the people have got a higher purchasing power, and if people do not have that much of income, then a lower price is charged by the companies. The eighth external factor impacting retail pricing is the bargaining power of customers. Bargaining power refers to the power of negotiating and getting the goods at a lower price. So, in certain cases or for certain products, it is possible to negotiate and secure a lower price, and in certain cases, there is no bargaining possibility or negotiation possibility happening. So, prices has to be charged accordingly. So, prices can also be based upon the bargaining capacity of consumers in the market. If the consumers have higher bargaining capacity, that is, they are capable of negotiating more, then a lower price can be charged. And if they have lesser bargaining capacity, then a higher price has to be charged. Now, this higher bargaining capacity and lower bargaining capacity, or in other words, the bargaining capacity or capability to negotiate, will all depend upon the nature of the product, as well as it will also depend upon the cooperatives that exist in our country. For example, when there are certain cooperatives which are formed to purchase goods in bulk quantities, such cooperatives stand at an advantage to have a better bargaining capacity or to have a higher bargaining capacity. So they'll buy in huge quantities and they will get it at a lower price. Whereas if you individually go and purchase some items, you may not be able to get it at a lower price. You will definitely have to pay a higher price because you're only buying one or two items. So that also refers to the bargaining power of customers. Also, bargaining power of customers will depend from product to product, because all goods cannot be negotiated or bargained for. Some products, because of their nature, will be always available at a fixed price, and the seller will not be willing to negotiate the price under any circumstance, whatever may be the quantity that you are planning to purchase. The ninth factor impacting retail pricing is the buyer's behavior in respect of a particular product. This means that if the buyers have a very strong desire or preference to purchase a particular good, then the firm can charge a higher price, or the company can charge a higher price. So the manufacturer or the marketer tries to understand how much demand is there, or how much of interest is there in the minds of the buyers to purchase that item. So if the desire is very strong, the company can charge a very high price, whereas if the demand is not very strong, the company can charge a lower price. The 10th factor impacting retail pricing is the availability of substitutes and complements. In many cases, we find that for any product that is there in the market, there is a possibility to have a substitute for it also. So if there is a substitute available for such products, then we generally see that the prices are lowered. But if there is no substitute, and only those products can be consumed by the customer, then the prices which are charged by the companies are slightly higher. So therefore, the availability of substitutes can bring down the price of the main product. The last point here is external factor impacting retail pricing. The last factor is competitors' pricing policy. Over and above all the previous points that I have mentioned to you, the company also takes into consideration what prices are charged by the other companies on similar products. So if you find that your competitor is charging a lower price, in that situation you wouldn't be able to charge a very high price. And similarly, if you find that your competitor is charging a higher price, you wouldn't be able to reduce your price lesser than that. Now it has to be somewhere close to those prices of your competitors, and you also have to justify as to why you have priced your goods slightly above that of your competitor or slightly below that of your competitor. So competitors pricing policy is therefore considered while fixing the retail price. So these were the 11 influencing factors, external influencing factors for retail pricing. Now let us speak or let us understand about the internal factors influencing retail pricing. As I told you earlier, internal factors can be adjusted or accommodated in such a manner that it works out beneficial for the company. Whereas external factors are beyond the control of the organization, but the organization has to keep this in mind, keep understanding what is happening in the external environment, and accordingly change its policies even though it cannot control those factors. Here internal factors are controllable. So let's understand the first internal factor, which is objectives of the firm. Objectives of the firm are the mission of the firm, which means that what is the firm actually formed for. So all that becomes a part of the objective of the firm. In some case, you would have remembered about the memorandum of association, in which you have around 5 to 6 clauses, and in one of the clauses is for object clause. So in that object clause, the company states what its main objectives are, and also apart from the main objectives, the company has to state what its subsidiary objectives are. So once you have stated your objectives, you know for what you are working and where you are heading and what is it that you want to achieve. In some cases, the companies may have only one single objective, and in some cases, the company may have multiple objectives. But common factor for almost all the companies except for non-profit making companies is profit maximization. So if profit maximization is the main objective of the company, then prices are generally charged higher, which means that the company is only interested in making profits and not is not much bothered about maintaining customer relationship or having a long rapport with the customers. So if profit maximization is the only and the sole objective of the company, then prices are generally charged higher. But if other objectives are also there in mind for the company, such as longer relationship with customers or business expansion, staying in the business for a very long time, having a huge market share, or having wealth maximization as its objective, then the company is bound to charge a lower price for its products and services. So depending upon the objectives of the firm, they can decide whether they want to charge a higher price or they want to charge a lower price. So each company would be different from one another. The second internal factor which influences retail pricing is the production cost. Production cost refers to the cost involved in manufacturing the item. All costs, variable costs and fixed costs put together forms the production cost. Now this is very important because if the company has to survive in the market, at least the price should be fixed in such a way that at least the production cost is covered. So of course, apart from production costs, the company incurs expenses for distribution as well, but at least production costs must be covered in order to make profits or to survive in the business. Now, if the company is not careful about its production cost, then this cost can get accelerated or can increase, and because of which the company would be required to charge a higher price. Now, for this purpose, the most companies follow effective cost accounting strategies whereby they keep their cost of materials, the cost of labor, the cost of overheads, and the cost of various other expenses at the bare minimum level. So, if they can control the cost at the production level, they can bring down the price to a lower level. So if a company is charging higher, there is a possibility that it is because it has not controlled its production cost, and therefore it is forced to charge for the goods at a higher price. Whereas another company of a similar kind, if they control their production cost, they can manufacture the same quality product at a lower price. So all companies have to take that into consideration. They have to bring down the cost of production to the lowest possible level. Otherwise, if they price higher, the customer will go for will buy the competitor's product, a similar product from the competitor at a lower price, because the competitor has ensured that their production cost is kept low. The third internal factor impacting the pricing is quality of the product and its features. Generally, a higher price is charged for high quality products, and low quality or ordinary products are charged at a lower price. So, based upon the various features that are there in a product, you can uh, charge the fix the price for the product. For example, if it's a car, if it's a base model, you can charge it low, but then if you provide additional features for the car, such as color for the car, or you have a stereo in the car, or you provide for an AC in the car, so these are add-on features that you have provided in the product, because of which the quality of the product has improved, and then you can charge such products at a higher price. Price also depends upon uh, qualities or features such as durability of the product, perishability of the product, prestige of the product in society, and so on. So quality of the product and its characteristics is a determining internal factor while doing the retail pricing. Scale of production. Scale of production can also impact the retail pricing. If the goods are produced on a large scale, scale of production means the operational level at which goods are manufactured. So if goods are produced on a large scale, then the price can be kept at the lowest possible rate. And if the goods are produced on a small scale, then obviously the prices are going to be comparatively higher. So you benefit from the economies of scale, we say. That is, anytime goods are produced on a large scale, the per unit cost, which means that for each item of the goods produced, because you're produced in such a large quantity, the per unit cost falls, and if it is produced on a small scale, the price is relatively higher. The fifth internal factor affecting retail pricing is efficient management of resources. If there is optimum utilization of all the resources of the company, then it can result in a lower price. Now, what do we understand by optimum utilization? Optimum utilization means making the best utilization of all the factors of production, all the resources that are there in the company, which leads to maximum output with minimum production cost. If that is the scenario, then the companies can afford to charge a lower price. But on the contrary, if there is underutilization or overutilization, or misutilization of the various resources, then in that case the company will have to charge a higher price for its products. The sixth internal factor influencing the retail pricing is policy towards payment of wages and dividend distribution to the shareholders. So in companies, wages are paid to the employees and dividend is paid to the shareholders. Dividend is the part of the profit which is paid to the shareholders. So if wages and salaries which are offered to the workers are very high, and even the company has a policy where they decide to pay higher dividend to its shareholders, then the company would have to charge a higher price for its products. Whereas if the company is offering less wages and salaries to its workers, as well as declaring lower dividend to its shareholders, then the company is in a position to charge lower rate for its products. Now, wages and salaries that you pay to your workers in the company cannot be abnormally high. It should be fixed in a very, what to say, rational manner. It has to be fixed properly, and therefore labor cost control comes into which is a part of cost accounting. Labor cost control, which is a part of cost accounting, comes should be considered over here, so that the workers are paid based upon what they are producing, and they are neither paid too high nor they are paid too low. But if the company has a policy where they offer too high a salary to the workers, then the price that they charge on the goods supplied to consumers is fixed at a higher rate. So therefore that should be avoided. Similarly, companies should not declare too high a dividend to its shareholders. Of course, the profits have got to be shared with the shareholders, but the profits cannot be given in abundant amount, or it cannot be given in a very scarce amount. It should be reasonably given to the shareholders. So that should be taken into consideration, so that the price of the goods is not heavily impacted. Similarly, if the company keeps a huge percentage of its profits with itself for the purpose of expansion or diversification in the future, in that case also uh, it is forced to charge a higher price. And whereas if the percentage of profit that is retained in the business is less, and rather it is put back into the business, then the company can afford to charge a lower price on the goods. Now let's discuss the seventh point of internal factors influencing retail pricing, that is advertising and sales promotion. If the company spends a lot of money on publicity, it spends a lot of money on propaganda, advertising, promotions, offering gifts to customers, carries out discount sales, and that also quite often. In that case, it has to charge a higher price on the goods that it supplies to the customers. Whereas if the company is not spending huge amounts of money on advertisement and promotion, then this money can be saved, and it will lead to lower cost of production, and therefore the company can charge a lower price on the goods that are sold to the customers. However, some amount of advertising and promotion has to be carried out by each and every company. Otherwise, the customers will not be aware about what products are available, what their features are, and so on. So to bring around awareness, a certain degree of advertising and sales promotion is required, but at the same time overspending might result in a higher price, and lower advertising would result in the customers not being aware of the product in the market. The eighth internal factor affecting the price is the stage of the product on the product life cycle. I hope you all remember the product life cycle and its various stages. You have the introduction stage, you have the growth stage, the maturity stage, saturation stage, and the decline stage. So the stage of the product on the product life cycle also determines the retail price. Generally, a higher price is offered in the growth, expansion, and maturity stage because the demand is stronger in those stages, and a lower price is charged when the demand is weak. So, therefore, in the saturation stage and in the declining stage, the price that is charged is weak. I repeat myself again. Higher prices are generally charged in the growth stage, expansion stage, and in the maturity stage because the demand for goods is strong in those stages, and lower prices are charged when the demand is weak, which happens generally in the saturation stage and in the declining stage. That is the last two stages of the product life cycle. So first three stages of the product life cycle, the company can afford to charge a higher price because demand is strong, and in the last two stages the company generally charges a lower price because the demand is weak. The ninth internal factor which influences retail pricing is the usage of the product. If the product that is sold is the one which is used daily by the customers, then they are charged at a lower price because they are often used items and the customers want it every time, and if you charge it highly, they won't be able to afford it. So if it's commonly used items, everyday items, daily use items, a relatively lower price is charged. But if the commodity or the product is used only for occasional purposes or for special occasions and customers buy it rarely, a higher price is generally charged for such goods. The 10th factor or the 10th internal factor influencing the retail pricing is the extent of distinctiveness of the product and the extent of product differentiation practiced by the firm. I repeat, the 10th internal factor influencing retail pricing is the extent of distinctiveness of the product and extent of product differentiation practiced by the firm. Now, if the company's product has got some special features and they are very different, those features are very different from those of the competitors, then the company is able to charge higher for such products. But whereas if the products are quite similar to the competitors' products, we call them as homogeneous products. So if they are very similar to one another and there's no much differentiation between these products, or the products are not distinctive from one another, then similar prices are charged. So higher prices can be charged if your company is manufacturing goods with very special features and it's very different from that of the competitors. So with that, I have covered all the factors which influences retail pricing, that is both the external factors as well as the internal factors. And as I have always explained to you in the class, this subject is not limited to only this much information. This is a very exhaustive subject, so please refer to various textbooks. You will get a lot of information, so you may find many more factors. If it is applicable to this topic, please include that also while you prepare your answers, and do not limit yourself to what I have just spoken. I have just given you an overall explanation to the factors influencing retail pricing, and prior to that I have explained to you what is the importance of pricing and what the company has to take into consideration regarding the pricing policy, what are the objectives of a pricing policy, and so on. So please write your answers with examples, and as I mentioned in the previous videos also, if you have any clarifications to make, please email me, and let me know your doubts and questions. So thank you for your patient listening. See you in the next video with many more topics on the same unit. Thanks for listening.